This is Matthew Kratter's Bitcoin University. Today I want to talk about what may be the worst Bitcoin miner in America. That, of course, is Mara. And if you took a look at their website, you wouldn't even know that they were a Bitcoin miner. It seems almost like they're a little bit ashamed of it. It's probably because they're pretty bad at it. But if we scroll down here, we can see their description, who we are. Mara secures the world's preeminent blockchain ledger. That's how they think of Bitcoin, and they're afraid to use the Bitcoin word. Who's the CEO of Mara? It's a guy named Fred Thiel, who was appointed CEO on April 26th of 2021. And he's had a good couple of years. In 2023, he brought home total compensation for Mara of over $36 million. And then in 2024, he brought home total compensation of $43 million. Now that's a pretty nice pay package, made possible probably by the fact that Fred is both CEO and chairman of the board of this company, which is never a good sign when it comes to corporate governance. But I'm sure that Fred's worth it, right? Let's see how Fred's been doing since he took the helm in April of 2021. That's when this chart starts. Since he took the helm, Mara is down nearly 44%, while Bitcoin is up 111%. So once again, you would have been better off buying Bitcoin. But Fred, it looks like, has really run this company into the ground. So let's just compare Mara to some comps. If Mara is complete trash, as I'm alleging, then it probably makes sense to use waste management companies as the comps. And so if we take a look, Mara is down, as we said, about 43%. Every single publicly traded large waste management company in the US is up anywhere from 57%, 58% to 138%. So you would have been better off holding real trash. And I think insiders understand this. This is why there's so much insider selling. It looks like insiders are dumping the stock, which makes sense. Here is Fred in mid-June of this year, June 16, 2025, selling almost $4 million worth of shares. And then if we scroll down, we can see he already sold another $4 million worth of shares on March 16th of this year, plus another $4 million worth of shares on that same day. If we scroll down here, back at the beginning of May, he sold another $4 million worth of stock. And then in April, he sold another $4 million worth of stock. So here's a guy who's really raking in the bucks. In 2025, it'll be interesting to see what his total compensation turns out to be. That's why I did this tweet. If you're buying shares of Mara, you might want to figure out what the insiders understand that you don't, or are they just really bad at Bitcoin mining? If you're enjoying this video so far, I'll pause just really briefly here to ask you to help to support this channel. Hit the subscribe button. That does really help. Leave a like, leave a comment, question, suggestion for a future video, and share this video with a friend or family member. So it may turn out that Mara really is bad at Bitcoin mining. If we take a look at their gross profit for the past 4 years, call it since 2021, it's negative every year. Their gross profit, their operating profit is negative as well. The only place they're making money is hodling Bitcoin, which you obviously don't need to pay a company to do. You can do it yourself. Even if we take a look at their cash flow from operations, we can see that their operating business, all it does is burn capital. And it looks like every year it's burning more and more capital. Back when Fred took the helm, it was only burning $18 million worth of capital every year. 2022, $176 million. 2023, $315 million. 2024, $677 million. And in the last 12 months to date, $804 million worth of capital incinerated by their operations. And this is during a very strong Bitcoin bull market. So they clearly don't know what they're doing. Or maybe they do, because what they've been doing is they've been levering up. They've been taking out a lot of debt in order to buy Bitcoin, because obviously their company is not spitting off any cash they could use. When Fred took the helm, they had approximately $728 million worth of debt. And now, at the end of 2024, they had $2.47 billion worth of debt. And we can see the most recent quarter's $2.6 billion worth of debt. So what they're basically doing is levering up the company. If we take a look at their Bitcoin holdings, they traded a very small NAV multiple, just 1.13 or 1.14 multiple. And that's because the free market is ascribing a very small value to their business, maybe even a negative value, because if you have an operating business that loses money every year, it really should have a negative valuation. And we can see how Mara's MNAV compares to MicroStrategy's. MicroStrategy trades at a healthy 1.72, 1.73. Mara is really what you get when you inseminate a money-losing business with a Bitcoin treasury strategy. You get a company that's actively destroying shareholder value through its operations while trying to save appearances by levering up and using the proceeds to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet, while the CEO walks away with $35, $40 million per year. So is Mara the worst Bitcoin miner in America? I think you'll have to decide that for yourself. But I would say at minimum, Fred Thiel is a walking poster child for the typical overcompensated CEO whose stock has been languishing for years. I'm not against CEOs making tens of millions of dollars, but I do believe, I have this old-fashioned belief that they should actually be running the company well, and the company should be making money especially if they're taking home tens and tens of millions of dollars every year. Mara is also, it turns out, you wouldn't be surprised, a terrible, terrible steward of the Bitcoin network. In 2021, they attacked the Bitcoin network by openly advocating for U.S. government-approved blocks. This is what's called super overcompliance. Marathon Digital Holdings becomes the first North American enterprise miner to produce fully AML, anti-money laundering, and OFAC-compliant Bitcoin. This is just an abomination when you think of the cypherpunk spirit. And then in addition, because Mara is apparently not very good at mining Bitcoin, they've also dabbled in mining shitcoins like Kaspa. This is just hard to believe, but in 2024, they announced their Kaspa mining operation. So this is a company that's just all over the place, and they really lack focus. If you're sitting on hundreds of millions of dollars of mining equipment, these Bitcoin ASICs, that can only be used to mine Bitcoin, why in the world would you go out of your way to support a competing network like Kaspa? If Kaspa were ever to win, and hint it's not, it's so far behind in the race, but if it were ever to win, all of Mara's mining rigs would be worthless. So this is why it doesn't make sense for a Bitcoin mining company to be undermining the network by mining on a completely different shitcoin network. Mara, of course, seeks to maximize Fred's annual compensation over being a good steward of the Bitcoin network. That would also explain Mara's strange and dark addiction to mining spam. They really don't care about the health of the network. Here's Mara putting a pizza on Bitcoin Pizza Day into the blockchain, and here's Mara putting a stupid rotating video of a block into the blockchain. Very, very clever. Bitcoin node runners from now until the end of time are going to have to download and store Mara's spam. And then when some poor Honduran family trying to work their way out of poverty by using Bitcoin as money, when this family tries to spin up a new Bitcoin node in 2053, they're going to need to download and verify Fred Thiel's spam. So remember that the next time you see Fred at a Bitcoin conference talking about how he's making the world a better place with Bitcoin mining, because he's actually not. He's definitely making his life a better place, taking home $35 to $40 million per year on a money-losing stock. It's one thing to take obscene compensation when your stock has been dead in the water for years, but it's another thing to be actively polluting the chain every single day and contributing to a massive tragedy of the commons. Now, Mara used to be called Marathon Digital Holdings, as we saw, but I really like the new shorter name because I like to think it's not a mere coincidence that this company now has the same name as a demon. Mara in Buddhism is a malignant king who tried to stop Prince Siddhartha from awakening, and Mara's been described as the personification of the forces antagonistic to enlightenment. And I think that's a good summary of Mara, the company, as well. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe and like buttons. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.